Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register. Every week we bring you news and information you can use on your real estate transactions. Today we're talking about something that you can use whether you're buying or selling a property. So it's a great show, very informative for anyone thinking about buying or selling a property. This is a great show for you today because we are going over how you know how to put in an offer, what price to put in, and how much to sell your house for. We're going over all of that with you today. So I've got Meredith Catrett here in the studio. You've heard her before. She weighs in a lot on different topics. Meredith is a realtor over at Register Real Estate Advisors and works with a lot of buyers and sellers. So Meredith, we want to talk today about something that every buyer and seller needs, and that's the CMA. And that's really just jargon. I mean, we as realtors, we really shouldn't be using that term with consumers because they don't know what it means. I'm not even sure what it means. I mean, sometimes it's a competitive market analysis. Sometimes it's a comparative market analysis. The bottom line is you're either telling them a range for purchasing a property or the range for selling their property.
That's exactly correct. And it is typically, it's an estimated probable selling price for a house expressed as a range. Exactly right. And they're very important. They help manage expectations.
And sellers expect them. When you go on a listing appointment to sell someone's home, they expect you to have this, be comparing the comps and showing them what sold in their neighborhood. But a buyer doesn't necessarily expect that. Sometimes a buyer just goes, they pick out the house, they say, this is the house we want. How much are they asking for it? How much do you think I should put in the offer for? This is what I want to offer. And you move forward. But really, if you have this, the CMA, if you have these comparable properties, you can really make a better decision on how much to pay for the home. Well, because sometimes people list it at the wrong price. They over list it.
Well, that's exactly right. And sometimes buyers, they want to get the rock bottom deal, and everyone wants a good buy, but you can't.
And sometimes you see that it's a better buy when you have this CMA because you can look and say, this is market value, and look, they have it priced below, and we know it needs some work, but this is why it's a good deal because these others have sold at a higher price.
Exactly. And if a house is priced way too high, it may give you some ammunition with the sellers to say, here's our offer and here's why we think it's a reasonable offer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. So it's important for both buyers and sellers. What exactly does the CMA include? What's included in it?
Well, what you should do is first you should go see the house. You need to know what's in the house and then look at the neighborhood, the condition, the amenities, then go look at the neighborhood so you can analyze the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. You need a knowledge of local and regional market trends. What's happening in this market? Mm-hmm. There are some neighborhoods.
School districts.
It's
important.
There's some neighborhoods where houses typically have one day on the market, and there's other neighborhoods where they're 8 months on the market.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
There is a reason for that. One neighborhood I know comes to mind, 8 months on the market right now because there's a builder still building in there.
Mm-hmm. And that's typical for that neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's typical for that.
You need to know what's typical for the neighborhood when you're buying in it. It's neither good nor bad. It's just what is the pattern, what's the trend, what's happening in the neighborhood.
Exactly. And there are not a lot of houses for sale in that market because everyone knows it takes 8 months to sell their house.
Mm-hmm. There are others that are really hot, moving fast.
Mm-hmm. There are neighborhoods in Spring close to the Woodlands right now where if it comes on the market and stays on the market more than a day, there's something wrong with the house. Mm-hmm. Or they have it overpriced or something.
So how do you choose your comps? When let's say someone calls you and they want to sell their home, how are you choosing the comps for their house?
Well, the first thing I look is I pick a date of sale, a time period. Usually 3 months or 6 months back, depends on the activity in the neighborhood. If a neighborhood has lots and lots of activity, 90 days back is
long enough.
Is probably long enough. Yeah. Then the location, can you stay in the neighborhood? If it's a rural property, you might have to go out 3 to 5 miles to get good comps. But if it's a neighborhood with 2,500 houses in it,
you can stay in the neighborhood.
You can stay in the neighborhood, maybe even in the same section.
Okay.
And then size. I try to get as close as possible within a couple of hundred square feet if I can. And again, that's usually easy in a neighborhood.
In a neighborhood, yeah.
Then some things that are not quite as important, but you'll have to make adjustments for them, is the amenities. Does the house have a pool? Does it or not? Does it have a fireplace? And then how many garage spaces? And you'll have to adjust for the importance of that. Improvements, floor plan, one-story versus two-story, brick versus wood. How old is the house? Bedrooms, bathrooms, the garage style, and any negatives on that house. Is it back up to a busy road? Does the neighbor have a rat-infested garbage pile in the backyard? Mm-hmm. That's a negative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think when I pull my CMA, the first thing I look at is square footage, and then the second thing I look at is year back, comparing it to other homes that were built in the area, and I try to keep it in the neighborhood, and then narrow down from there. And I think that's a good place to start. How many comparable homes do you include? I know you said you either go back 3 or 6 months, depending on how many homes have sold in the neighborhood. But let's assume, a standard neighborhood, you went back 3 months. How many houses are you including?
At least 3.
Okay.
If you can find more, it supports your pricing opinion better. Mm-hmm. But at least 3.
If there's a foreclosure or short sale or a relocation, do you throw those out or do you account for those?
Foreclosures and short sales I try to throw out, unless the house is a foreclosure or a short sale.
Right.
But I try to throw those out. And relocations, too. I think they really skew the value.
Let's talk a little bit about absorption rate. This is something that a lot of people may not be familiar with. Absorption rates are, will you tell us, what is an absorption rate?
Well, it indicates the strength of the market, the number of months of inventory. And when I say months of inventory, that's how many months will it take to get rid of what's currently on the market based on prior data.
And this is how when you go sit down with a seller, you can actually tell them, I think it's going to take 3 months to sell your house, and here's why. I think it's going to take 8 months to sell your house, and here's why. That's what that data gives you.
And it's a mathematical formula. You can find it online. For a neighborhood, you can figure it yourself. You pick a period, how many houses sold during that period, divide it by the period, and you'll get your sales per month. Mm-hmm. And then take the number for sale in the area, divide it by the sales per month, and you get your absorption rate. So if your absorption rate is 1 to 4 months, you're in more of a seller's market.
Right. And if it's longer, then you can be leaning towards buyer's market.
Yeah.
And every neighborhood can be a little bit different. The whole Houston area may be a seller's market, but you may have a neighborhood that is more of a buyer's market.
That's exactly correct.
And you've got although the whole Houston area it takes 3.5 months to sell right now. What's the
3.7 months in June.
So that's June rate. But then when you go down neighborhood by neighborhood, it may actually be different. You may have 6 months of inventory in that neighborhood, or you may have 3 months of inventory in that neighborhood, or you may have 1 month of inventory in that neighborhood, because neighborhood to neighborhood varies.
Yes.
So when you see in the news, that there's 3.7 months in June, know that your neighborhood could be a little different, and this is how you calculate that.
Exactly.
Finding the absorption rate. All right. How do you make price adjustments? We talked about that a little bit. So if their house has a pool and the comps don't have pools, how are you price adjusting that?
Well, you're going to have to find out what does a pool cost in that. What's a pool add to a house in that neighborhood? Mm-hmm. You can look at houses with pools that are similar that don't have pools. Okay, what's the price difference?
Right.
So that's a market-based analysis. If it's something like a roof, go talk to a contractor, see what a new roof costs. Mm-hmm. Price in. So it depends on what you're comparing as to how you adjust.
Now, a good CMA can also help if you have an appraisal issue, can help. Go back to the appraiser. We certainly said it could help if the seller's agent has it listed wrong. It can certainly help. And sometimes it's not the agent's fault the house is listed at the wrong price. Sometimes it's because that's what the seller said they wanted to sell for. And so giving them those comps can help,
exactly
change that. So, all right, good information. Whether you're buying or selling a home, you want to know this information, the absorption rates, the CMA. And we didn't even talk about RPR. The National Association of Realtors has a program called RPR,
which is Realtors Property Report, and has lots of information based on census data, public records. You can get neighborhood reports, local trends, maps that show price trends in neighborhoods, flood zones.
Lots of information, voting patterns, everything.
Yes.
It really gives you a lot of information. I think that's a great resource, but that's one resource. There's lots of resources. Obviously, we use the MLS and other resources to compile all this data. So when your realtor says they're going to pull a CMA, now you know all about the CMA, the process, what we're doing, and the information that it's going to give you. And they all look different. You can have 3 different agents pull a CMA on the same house, and they're all going to be a little different. Just like an appraiser, you can have 3 different appraisers appraise one house, and they can all come up with something a little bit different. So interesting, very interesting. Great information. Meredith Catrett from Register Real Estate Advisors. We appreciate you coming in today and weighing in on CMAs. I know you do these all the time for your buyers and sellers. Tell us how people can reach you if they're interested in buying or selling a home.
Oh, they can reach me on my cell phone, 281-827-3707. They can call the office and ask for me, 281-288-3500.
I know that number.
Or they could email me at meredith@rrea.com.
All right, and you can find more information about our company, Registered Real Estate Advisors, online at rrea.com. There's a blog with lots of information, and of course, you can see today's show and all of our shows at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com.
People often find themselves in need of storage and moving, but don't want the hassle and stress. Sound familiar? Well, at Zippy Shell, we make storage and moving easy. Zippy Shell will deliver a storage container to your home or business. You load it at your leisure, and we'll take it to one of our safe, convenient storage facilities, or ship it to your final destination. We treat your stuff like it's our stuff, because we understand you're not just giving us your belongings, you're giving us your trust. Zippy Shell. Storage and moving that makes life simple.